Martin Luther King Jr. stands as one of history's most iconic figures, remembered for his unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and nonviolence. His leadership during the civil rights movement in the United States not only transformed the nation, but also inspired global movements for social justice. Born in Atlanta, Georgia, to Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. and Alberta Williams King, Martin Luther King Jr. was deeply influenced by his family's religious background and their commitment to civil rights. His father, a pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church, played a key role in shaping King's moral and ethical outlook. King was an exceptionally bright student. Skipping both 9th and 12th grades, he entered Morehouse College at the age of 15, following in his father's footsteps. In 1948, he graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology. While at Morehouse, King was inspired by President Benjamin Mays, a proponent of nonviolent resistance. King continued his education at Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, earning a Bachelor of Divinity degree in 1951. He later pursued doctoral studies at Boston University, where he received a PhD in systematic theology in 1955. While in Boston, he met Coretta Scott, an accomplished musician and activist. They married in 1953 and had 4 children. King's leadership in the civil rights movement began in Montgomery, Alabama. In 1955, Rosa Parks, an African-American seamstress, was arrested for refusing to give up her seat to a white passenger on a bus. This act of defiance led to the Montgomery bus boycott, a pivotal event in the struggle for civil rights. At just 26 years old, King was elected president of the Montgomery Improvement Association, which spearheaded the boycott. Over 381 days, African Americans in Montgomery refused to use public buses, facing violence and intimidation. King's home was bombed and he was arrested, but his commitment to nonviolence never wavered. The boycott ended successfully in 1956, when the Supreme Court declared segregation on public buses unconstitutional. King was profoundly influenced by Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolent resistance. He believed in achieving social change through peaceful protests, civil disobedience, and dialogue. As president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, founded in 1957, King traveled extensively, organizing protests and advocating for desegregation, voting rights, and economic equality. One of King's most significant contributions was his leadership in the Birmingham Campaign of 1963, a series of nonviolent protests against segregation in Alabama. The campaign garnered national attention when images of peaceful protesters being attacked by police dogs and water hoses were broadcast, shocking the conscience of the nation. Later that year, King delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Standing before the Lincoln Memorial, he envisioned a future where people would be judged by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. The speech became a defining moment in the civil rights movement, galvanizing millions in the fight for equality. In 1964, King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts to combat racial inequality through nonviolence. At just 35 years old, he became the youngest recipient of the prize at that time. King's influence extended beyond racial justice. In 1965, he played a pivotal role in the Selma to Montgomery marches, which led to the passage of the Voting Rights Act, eliminating discriminatory practices that disenfranchised African Americans. As the movement evolved, King broadened his focus to address poverty and opposition to the Vietnam War. In 1967, he launched the Poor People's Campaign, advocating for economic justice and fair housing. He argued that true equality required addressing the systemic economic disparities that affected people of all races. King faced increasing criticism during this period, both from those who felt he was pushing too far and those who believed he was not radical enough. Despite this, he remained steadfast in his principles, emphasizing the interconnectedness of racial, economic, and social justice. On April 4, 1968, while in Memphis, Tennessee, to support striking sanitation workers, King was assassinated on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel. His death sent shockwaves across the world, sparking riots in over 100 U.S. cities, but also reinforcing the urgency of his mission. King's legacy endures as a testament to the power of nonviolence and the pursuit of justice. His work paved the way for monumental changes, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. These legislative achievements dismantled institutionalized segregation and discrimination, profoundly transforming American society. Martin Luther King Jr. is commemorated annually on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a federal holiday in the United States observed on the third Monday of January. Monuments like the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial in Washington, D.C., and streets named in his honor around the globe reflect his lasting impact. Beyond the United States, King's philosophy has inspired movements worldwide, from South Africa's struggle against apartheid to contemporary advocacy for human rights. His message of equality, compassion, and justice continues to resonate, reminding humanity of the transformative power of love and perseverance.